Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're working on this Xbox 360. As you can see, I've already gotten it taken apart. This isn't really a video on showing you how to take apart an Xbox 360. Those videos are all over YouTube. This is kind of just basically seeing if a reflow will make your Xbox 360 work better. So this one, it would turn on, it would start playing the game, and then it would shut off after being on for about a minute or two. And say it would give me a message saying that the system is overheating. I tried putting it in the oven. Some people do an oven reflow trick where I just put the whole thing in the oven to see if I could avoid taking it apart. And that did not work. I turned it back on and I still kept getting the same message that the Xbox was overheating and that it was turning off. And it also damaged the plastic case. You can see this thing got all warped from being overheated. So I'll probably try and use my heat gun to soften this up and see if I can smooth it out, make it look a little better. The bottom one did just fine. But we're gonna basically kind of looking inside. First thing is there's dust all over this heat sink. So hopefully just cleaning that off will help a lot. Here's the other heat sink. Good amount of dust on there. So we'll clean those off in our sink. We'll clean all the dust off this board. And then there's not a whole lot of thermal paste either. On these chips, you can see. So that may be, just putting new thermal paste and cleaning off the heat sinks may be enough just to get it working. But since we opened it up already, we'll go ahead and basically we'll heat up the GPU and the CPU, these two chips here, and we'll put some flux around the edges. Then we'll apply our heat gun to it, and we'll take off these little side things here to make sure the flux can get in there. These little side clips here. That seems to be important for the reflow process. And then hopefully that'll get the flux underneath these chips, basically to reflow and to set, because a lot of people say that cracks underneath these chips, and that's why these things overheat. And then we'll put it together and see if it works. But definitely don't try the oven trick, because that didn't work for me. I did it at 250 degrees for 10 minutes, which was hot enough to basically melt or cause this to warp, but was not hot enough to reflow the chips. So not worth doing, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and I'll get this all cleaned up, and I'll show you guys the process of getting this board heated up and reflowed, and then we'll put it together, see if it works, which is the main point of this video, is seeing if this will actually work. What I'll do is I'll play an X-Men game. I'll try and beat the whole thing, and I'll let you guys know if we have any overheating issues while we do that. So I got my board cleaned up. I cleaned it up with some 91% isopropyl alcohol. I think maybe you want to use something a little bit higher, like 97 or 99, but I've used that before on electronics and done just fine. And then I got the chips all cleaned up with all the old thermal paste cleaned off, using mostly the isopropyl alcohol, but I used a little bit of Goo Gone as well on a Q-tip to make them nice and shiny. I cleaned all the dust off. I got these little clips that go on the sides of the GPU and CPU off. Here's a little pile of them. Got them off with these little tweezers. And they were kind of hard to get off, but if you're patient, you can get them off, no problem. So now it's time to heat up the board. Basically what I'm going to do is heat up the back for about a minute. I think I'll just leave. Let's see, I don't know what I'm going to do with these little pads. I think I'll just take them off right now and put them back on later. Not sure what purpose these have as far as they might be heat absorbing or if they're just to help cushion the board. Here's my heat gun. I'm going to put it on the low setting. The low setting hopefully should be good enough. I'm going to heat the back for just about a minute, kind of just moving around. I'll go ahead and fast forward this part so you guys don't have to watch the whole thing. So we're going to do a minute. We're going to go around the edges. Just kind of constantly moving, keeping the heat gun about 3 inches away from the board. going to turn it over. And it's a little bit hot, but not too hot to handle. We're going to do another minute. And I've noticed that the air is a little bit cold, or not warm enough, so I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. It should be good there. I'm just going to do this for a minute. I'm going to start to focus on these chips here. One little final pass over the board. And now we're going to apply our flux. Here's what I'm using. I'm just using this stuff, little bag of flux here. Got it off Amazon. It's kind of generic. But basically I'm going to apply it around both the chips here. See if I can get the flow. There we go. Go all around the edges here. Same thing over here. And then I'm going to heat both these chips up for about 4 minutes. Really get the flux to flow in there. Get the solder to kind of reflow and be molten, and hopefully that'll work pretty well. Again, here we go, about starting 4 minutes, starting now. Alright, so 4 minutes are up. We're just going to let this cool down. While we let that cool down, we're going to try and heat up this piece of plastic, or the plastic cover, to see if we can get some of these kind of these warped areas out of it that happened when we were doing our oven test. So the board's cooled down. We're going to put a little bit of new thermal paste on these chips here. These 3 locations, I'll add a little bit more here. You don't want to put too much, just kind of like, you want just the right amount, the Goldilocks amount. So just enough that it'll cover the chip when you put the heat sinks back on. And then I'm going to put this together. We're going to test it out, let you guys know if it works. Trying to melt the plastic back into shape didn't work out, ended up cracking. In this case, you can kind of see here, it sort of melted this top part, trying to shape it back out. So again, when you take these apart, remember the plastic's real brittle. You can easily crack it, and that's kind of normal. And definitely don't put it in the oven. Let's go ahead and get this back together and see if it works. So guys, I made it even worse. I'll show you what happens when I try and turn it on now. So the power brick there. So now it just blinks, which usually that means there's a power supply issue. This power supply is working. It's connected here well. I'm not getting like a red dot on the power supply. So it might be a power. I may have to try a different power supply on this, but it looks like I made it even worse than when I started, because it used to at least turn on and stay on for a little while. So there you go, guys. You know, there are videos where they show you trying to kind of reflow the GPU and the CPU, the solder on it, and it doesn't really appear to work that well. I did what they did in the video. I mean, you know, you could say maybe putting it in the oven made it worse, but even after I put it in the oven, it would still turn on. Right now, I am getting some response, like the fan is turning on in the back. Just the rest of the system isn't turning on. So let me know what you guys think. I hope this video was helpful. You know, essentially it shows if your Xbox 360 is doing the red ring of death or overheating, it may not be worth it to try and open it up and fix it yourself. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll catch you all next time.